on, guys? So with the new chapter spoilers being out for My Hero Academia chapter 293, we start to see a ton of things go down, most notably the return of Lemillion, which we saw last chapter, but we actually see him in action this time, dodging and phasing through boulders from a high-end Nomu. And we actually get to see him come back because of Aries' quirk training from Aizawa, and she had actually been practicing on bugs and lizards to further her progression, making this the actual first time that she's ever used her powers on a human post-overhaul arc, which is pretty cool to see. I think a lot of us in the community already saw this coming, but something else that shocked me was the fact that the Battle of the Todorokis is happening right now. And by the Battle of the Todorokis, I mean Dabi and Shoto going at it. Well, mainly just Dabi burning the corpse of Shoto, but the only reason why Shoto is holding back is because of his feelings toward his brother. With that being the case, we get to see genuine joy on Dabi's face once again, just to see the look on Endeavor's face as he's just sitting there watching in horror as to what's going on, which kind of parallels how Shoto used to feel about his dad and him not using his firepower, because if you remember during the UA Sports Festival arc, Shoto made it very clear to Deku that he wasn't going to use his fire quirk and just beat him using his ice quirk, and Shoto reveled from the face of his dad sitting in the stands. But honestly, I'm just waiting for Endeavor to do something, because it's been about 25 pages since he's actually done something, but as for now, he's just sitting there standing like a buffoon. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if Horikoshi actually forgot about him for some time and just left him there for months, but I digress. Now, I will say the one thing that did catch my eye was our main man Katsuki Bakugo essentially coming back from the dead, and while he was doing so, we see something quite odd about his explosion quirk, as in Mirio calls for backup and Bakugo comes through in the distance. His explosion starts twinkling. Now, this would have been offset by a lot of people because explosions do tend to have fire in them, although I wouldn't associate a twinkle with the lights coming from an explosion. But the thing is, when we see Bakugo get closer, the explosions start twinkling even more. And not only that, but Bakugo shocks Ida with his speed. And being a guy who possesses super speed and freaking engines that are coming out of your legs, I think Tenyu should pride himself on being the fastest in Class 1A. So we see that Bakugo zips right past Ida to go help out with the Nomus, and because of that, I sort of think that Bakugo's quirk had awakened due to his extreme want to help out. Of course, there could be some other factors in the awakening of such a quirk, but come on now, like the guy's coming back from the dead essentially, homie was impaled and basically on the brink of death, so to come back just to help, I feel like actually awakened his quirk. So for those who may not know what a quirk awakening means, for the specific quirk and for the person who holds the quirk, basically a quirk awakening means two things. One, that the specific quirk has evolved onto another level, basically making the user of the quirk more powerful. And two, it's a sign that the user of said quirk is starting to master it. And I feel as though the best example of this is Deku. Think about One For All when Deku was first given the power. Up until Deku, nobody had ever mastered the quirk up until the point that Deku has. In other words, not one vestige has ever tapped into the other powers stored inside One For All, but Deku has. So this could be considered a quirk awakening because Deku is starting to master it, and it's getting him more powerful as a result. And honestly speaking, I think that this type of quirk progression is something that we all wanted to see, not only from Midoriya, but from our main man Bakugo as well. And I always kind of thought that Bakugo was gonna awaken his quirk before Midoriya did, but hey, I'd rather it be now than later. So to wrap things up, I thought I'd speculate on what is actually going on with Bakugo's explosion quirk. So doing a tad bit of research on the topic of nitroglycerin explosions, what we find is that the oily substance known as nitroglycerin degrades over time and it becomes more unstable and less easy to transfer. As a result, I think what's happening is that the potency of the nitroglycerin sweat that Bakugo constantly emits is starting to increase due to the substance in his sweat degrading. And I guess it would make sense as to why the nitroglycerin is degrading now, because think about it, if you're born with a quirk that has nitroglycerin in it, and since we know that nitroglycerin degrades over time, Bakugo's around like 15, so the quirk has had 15 years to degrade and reach the potency it has now. And also the reason being for the quirk shining so bright is, like I said before, the potency of the nitroglycerin could have been increased, thus the explosions could have been bigger and the lights brighter. So like I said before, guys, this is going to be it for me today. Just remember that this is a theory of sorts, more like speculation, I guess. But I hope you guys did enjoy today's video. If you guys want to get in touch with me and discuss some more MHA content, I'd love to do so. Just go follow my Twitter. I stay on there all the time. But with that being said, have a nice day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.